I am joined with a great friend of mine and also fellow musician, someone I've played a lot of music with for the better part of Bill, almost 20 years?
Yeah.
This goes back to 2002, where I answered an ad posted by the lead singer at the time, Mike, and I answered that ad, and it was one of the best decisions of my life because I am so grateful for our friendship, number one, most important, and our music relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, it was a weird time because I had Mike was singing at the time. He's my friend, and I had just come off of bass player left, the original bass player Tom, and the original drummer left, Jerry, and I was like, oh man, it's over. Like, what do we do? We just move on. And Mike was like, no, man, we got to put an ad in the paper. I'm like, I just never really saw myself as that guy to put an ad in the paper. I'm like, is that gonna work? He's like, no, who cares, man? Just put it in there. I'm like, all right. He's like, I'll do it. So he posted it, and then I think we had like a couple people actually respond, but the first guy came. We gave him the demo or whatever. He called us, and I don't remember the deal with him, but but nobody had as much enthusiasm as you did. You were like on fire. Everything was just like, I was like,
well,
I don't
because,
know.
Yeah, not to cut you off. It's because of like the Rush influence, the Dream Theater influence, and I finally had found people that wanted to play the music I wanted to play, and I was psyched on it. And you guys kicked ass.
Well, I mean, at the time we had Chris Erbst on bass at the time, and Mike was singing. So yeah, I mean, it was hard because we I would say almost started over. It was Chris had to learn the songs, you had to learn the songs, and then we started writing, and I think that was probably the best thing we did because if you don't know where else to go, you start fresh in a way, But yeah, it was fun.
That was so much fun, and it's funny you said that word. That's why you're my brother from a different mother, like I always say. When we actually sat and started writing after we had played the old stuff that you guys had done, which was tremendous stuff, and all those musicians that were a part of that, mad props to them. They were so great. And then when we started writing our own thing, Behind These Walls, which will come out eventually, we re-recorded that.
We're slowly trickling out music that we've had for years, but
right. And that was so much fun. Like, we would just hang out in Chris's, what was it? It wasn't a basement. It was a garage.
It was a garage, yeah. That he converted half the garage into like a music studio. It was pretty cool, actually. Yeah, it was the first time that I've ever seen electronic drums. He had like I think it was like a little Marshall amp, and it was like one of the little 1x12 or whatever it was. And I was like, we're going to hear this? But then realizing it was an electric drum set, you can turn the volume down. Everything, it was weird. It was like rocking at a very low volume. It was so bizarre. But I could actually hear myself sing, and that's a rare thing too. Especially performing. Usually you can't hear yourself, but and I know Mike at the time, he loved it because he could hear himself too.
I remember sitting in that garage with you guys, literally sitting, because I'm a drummer, so I'm sitting down, and we would just bang out for hours, dude. Like, we would just rock out and go crazy and go over things in thorough detail. But what I liked about what we were doing is we were definitely, getting together our chemistry as a band and also challenging ourselves. Like, this is the reason why I wanted to always drum for Hearafter, and in particular your guitar parts and your music orchestration, is because it's challenging. I love challenges. I used to be a boxer. I like things that are like not always smooth. And when I started playing with you guys, when I had to learn the first demo, that was very hard, very difficult. And then I did it. And then we started writing Behind These Walls, and it was like, oh man. And then we've done so much other stuff over the years. And the thing I want to really talk about is the modern thing that's going on right now. We just dropped an album called Burn It Down. You guys can find it on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever fine, digital download audio is available, YouTube, whatever. Yep. And we dropped this album, and it's kind of like a call and response to what's going on with society nowadays. We all have things built up, whether it's quarantine, whether it's all these things going on. The newest guys, I don't have to even go there. You all watch it. You see what's happening. So this is kind of our response to it. Bill, let's talk about Burn It Down, the album we just did. What's your thoughts about the first track, the title track, Burn It Down?
Well, I mean, it started with the riff. I mean, that's pretty much, I think when I started writing it, I just picked up the guitar and was just messing around, and I came up with this riff, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And, I just started recording it. And, it wasn't until I got to doing the vocals that I realized it was pretty aggressive. Like, to me, it's a guitar riff. I'm just playing this riff. I'm like, hey, riff sounds cool. And then I started putting the vocals down, and I was like, I've never done anything like this where I don't scream. I don't have that capability of the screaming, but it was a little bit more forceful than usual for me. And like when you listen to it, it definitely sounds more raw, which I kind of like, because that's my style. I don't, I sing. I taught myself how to sing, and I did take some vocal lessons in college, but mostly what I got from that were more of practice techniques and how to learn how to control it more. But when I guess I'm forcing it a little more, you don't have as much control. So it was definitely different for me, and it was definitely harder. It was a lot heavier than, I enjoy heavy music. I love Seven Dust. I love, I like stuff like that. And then trying to write something like that for me in the past has never really worked. Like, and two, being a big fan of Rush and Dream Theater, trying to write music like that for me also hasn't exactly worked. As I believe it was Tom or Jerry, I know it was Jerry that said it when we first started doing Imagination. When we were recording it, he goes, you're not as progressive as you think you are. Which to this day, I remember that. And it's funny because to me, it doesn't matter. Like it's not the point of trying to be progressive. It's just the point of just trying to write whatever music that comes out of me. I mean, if it happens to be progressive, which some of it is, I mean, some of it has hints of progressive music. This album definitely isn't as progressive as the last one, but it has moments, which is great. But again, not my point. I'm not trying to do that. So I know I'm getting off topic, but yeah, Burn It Down.
No, you're right there on the topic, because I was actually going to mention Time, another album we released recently, was more, I'm going to say singer-songwriter, but there are progressive elements on that album, and we play our asses off. We have a couple instrumentals, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'll pat you on the back because you're my boy. But no, there's moments where it's like, I even told you before on that album, where I'm like, it's like Bill Time. I don't even know what it is, man.
You mean time signature? I had to figure out some of them too, because I was like, because I try to notate the stuff that I do just because I like to have a record of it, because sometimes you might not come back to a song for a couple of years, and it's like, yeah, I can listen to it and try to remember it by ear, and sometimes it's like riding a bike, and sometimes it's like, what the hell did I play? And like, I know what I played, and I'm like, is that the way I played it, or did I play it on a, So I write it down this way. I know, okay, it was on the 12th fret, because there's like 7 different ways to play the same note on the guitar.
Exactly. So for people listening, this is our newest record. The last one we just did, we actually released one prior to this that was written earlier. It can be kind of confusing. Yeah. But the bottom line is we got a lot more coming out. We got things that we've done in the 2000s that we just re-recorded.
It's all older.
Yep. And I love it. I love all of it. But this one in particular, I love the emotion. And you mentioned the heaviness, the rawness. It's a little different for us. Like, we start off kind of aggressive, and let's send it up to Burn It Down, brother.
All right, here we go.
I try to run, I can't escape this hell I'm in. I sacrifice this fleeting life, it's all a sin. This cold heart, it beats for you, it's caving in. I trusted you, you sold me out, where through? lying on the bed you made inside your head. Here you are the star. I never realized how perfect you are. I twist and turn, you feel the burn, it lasts all night. You deviate, you hesitate, another lie. Not giving in where we begin, you will not win. Your soul will burn, you'll never learn to let me in. Another day, another way to see this through. We must unite and never fight to get us through. Blind leaders cry, more people die. This won't end until we learn to let things go and make a man. Lying on the bed you made inside your head. Here you are the star. I never realized how perfect you are. Who are you? I thought I knew. You're not the one. You're not the same. It's just a shame. It's in your dough. I thought you'd live, got more to give. Your time's not done. This is the end. You were my friend. Now I walk alone. Throw myself into the flames just to watch it all burn down. Never should have trusted you. What the hell have you done now? I throw myself into the flames just to watch it all burn down. I never should have trusted you. What the hell have you done now? I throw myself into the flames just to watch it all burn down. I never should have trusted you. What the hell have you done now? I throw myself into the flames just to watch it all burn down. I never should have trusted you. What the hell have you done now? I throw myself into the flames just to watch it all burn down.
Okay, so from my experience as the drummer that's getting sent these files from Bill, because we do things, you know, over the internet communications and stuff and emails, I was like, God damn, that's fast. I was like, and I had to like actually like work myself out and stretch, like almost like I was doing an aerobic exercise to get myself in shape to go and work out or box or something. And this thing was so quick, and the next one's even faster. So the first two tracks, guys, are just like, I'm like, what, did Bill do some coke or something? This is so quick.
Well, it's funny.
Tell me about the song, bro. Yep.
I was going to say, what's funny is when I wrote the riff, it wasn't that fast, and then like when I started recording it, and like I was trying to set it to a like not a click track, but like a fake drum track that then I usually take it out and send it to you. You figure out like because I like it when you figure out your own drum parts, but you know. I was like, it's too slow. So like I bumped it up and I was like, and even as I'm trying to play the riff, I'm like, this is fast. I'm like, you know, I had the same thing. I had to adjust because it was not easy. I mean,
man.
Because I mean, the riff doesn't sound like it's that difficult. It's not that difficult of a riff. It's just at that speed, you know, it makes it a little bit, you know, tricky.
Very fast. And I got to give a nod to my great drum instructor, Dino Calicari, back home. My man showed me everything that I know about the drums. I mean, obviously my father also had a huge influence on my music playing, and obviously you did too, Bill. Like, you know, every musician I worked with. But there's one fill that happens at the end of each verse to go into like kind of the chorus would be, and it goes dot to dot to dot dot to dot. So I was working on this fill, and then Dino had showed me that fill. It's all singles. Boom, ba boom, ba 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 boom. And then he told me to double it up, make it a roll. I'm like, make that a roll? You want me to put it to a 30-second note? And so I'm like, I'm like, oh man, and I'm clipping hi-hats and cymbals. And if he had not shown me that fill prior to during my learning process with him, and all those little things I do, we'll talk about innuendos later, because there's a couple of things about drumming that happen on this album that are very subtle, but that are a call to all the great musicians, in particular my drum, I call him my drum master, my drum Jedi, Dino Caligari, one of the best drummers ever on the planet. So let's move into The Waiting, which is track number 2, and it's fire and it's fast.
This is where it all begins. I won't let you keep me in. Time and time again you win. Time waits for no one when you're waiting for the end. Time waits for nothing when it all comes crashing down. Who will you come crawling back to? Throw down time, another bite. This time you think that you're right. What did I do to disappoint you? Time waits for no one when you wait for the end. Time waits for nothing when it all comes crashing down. Time waits for no one when you're waiting for the end. Time waits for nothing when it all comes crashing down.
Okay, your thoughts on this song?
Well, all right. So yeah, it's heavy. A lot of vocally, because I was like, after I wrote the music, I was like, how the hell am I singing to this? Because I don't scream or anything. So I was like, this one's even heavier than the first one, and the first one was kind of aggressive. So what I did, I'm a big fan of Faith No More, like a lot of people are, and I kind of looked to Mike Patton a little bit, and I really like what he did vocally in a lot of his stuff. He has such a huge range. My voice is more tenor, but not I can't get super high or anything like that. So I kind of like took a little bit of influence from Mike Patton, and I have a little bit of, like, you can hear some of the vocal inflections at some of the end of the lines where I have that little I don't even know what he does, but it's a weird thing he does, and I always loved it. So I was like, oh, I could try that, and it kind of worked. And I toned it down a little bit because I think in the original recording I went a little nuts with it, and it was the first time I went through it, and I was like, all right, I got to fix it. But I liked, Faith No More as an influence on the vocals on that. And the lyrics, of course, my obsession with time, hence the last album called Time. Just like the whole thing is, life is short, and, it's always a lovely topic, but, death in the end, and, it's sort of an obsession.
When I got that, excuse me, when I got that track sent over to me, you had pretty much mapped out the drum pattern, and I loved it. I loved the whole design of it. I'm like, I totally agree with it. And what I liked about it the most was the challenge, because there were certain fills you put in certain places that I usually wouldn't do. Okay. Yeah. Now, the patterns that I played would be similar patterns. They would have been right on. But some fills, I was like, but I love challenges. There was one fill in particular before the second verse that comes and it fits perfectly, but it's at like the half measure, and it's very fast and it's very busy. Yeah. And that's kind of like a little bit out of my character as a drummer, my characteristics. And I loved it. I was like, I got to figure this out. And I remember sitting down and going over this thing over and over again, and also being exhausted from doing the other parts, because the beginning, it's so fast and so quick. And my double bass, I was like, oh man, my legs are on fire right now. When I was done recording that song, I was exhausted. I was totally exhausted.
It's hard. I mean, especially on a guitar standpoint for picking, it's so fast. It's a lot of down picking, and after a while your hands do cramp up. I mean, especially in a recording situation where you're not literally just playing through the song once. You're playing through it literally, 50 to 100 times because you want it to be perfect, and
exactly
a lot of editing. But it's but to play it back, I've run through it daily as like a practice, because it's like stamina, building stamina.
Well, yeah, it's also muscle memory. I tell all my students that I teach, I tell them, like, it's all about repetition. And, some people will try to do something 5 hours a day, 1 day a week. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. You got to do it like an hour a day, every day, at least 6 days a week, or at least, cut it to a half hour if it's too much for you mentally to focus. Like, just cut it to a half hour at least every single day. Repetition, muscle memory. Yeah. And that's all this really is. And every single time I go back and try to play some of these songs, I'm like, oh man, I got to play this a lot more, because, they're not exactly very easy to play, people. Is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, so the first couple are rough. I mean, the rest of them are, they're toned down a little bit, but I like them musically. I feel like, as songs, they're strong. And that's, like, for me, I've always prided myself on more songwriting. I grew up as a guitar player. I idolized guys like Marty Friedman and Zakk Wylde and John Petrucci naturally, and and Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and all those guys. And I still love those guys, but like, I knew that, like, for me, even though I could play a lot of that stuff, but I just wasn't. It's not my voice. Like, no matter how much I tried to do music like that, it never worked that way for me. I actually wrote a couple like instrumental albums just to like try and do stuff like that. It's the most melodic crap like you'll ever hear. There's like barely any guitar solos. I'm like, isn't that the point of it? But no, I'm more of a songwriter, and like I enjoy that, so like I think that's what got me into singing as well, is because I grew up with like Billy Joel, and I always had my Dream Theater, and I always had Megadeth and Metallica, and all those guys. And I loved that stuff growing up as a kid. Pantera, and just now older. Like once I got to college, I kind of started to like focus more on writing because I felt like I got more enjoyment out of that. Like I love playing guitar solos, but for me, it almost feels like like just something I just throw in a song. Like when I was a kid, we did every song had a guitar solo, and I was just like, that it felt like it had to be that way. But as I got older, I realized it serve the song, and a lot of places it doesn't. So a lot of our songs, you'll notice, don't have guitar solos. I mean, I didn't do that on purpose. It's just when I write it, it's just I never like go, oh, I need to put a guitar solo in here. I'll listen to it and I'll be like, oh, it would sound really cool here, a guitar solo, and then I'll introduce one. But occasionally, a lot of songs don't, or just
well,
go.
The thing is, I think you're fantastic at guitar solos. So does my boy Johnny Zika, or Zaka. He's always correcting me because I always fuck up his name. So, but that's my boy. But what I like about this album in particular is that it's very eclectic. Like we do a little bit of Slayer, a little bit of Blink-182, and you guys are going to hear all that. A little bit of Avenged Sevenfold. We're all over the place, but that's why we're the musicians that we try to be. Is that I love reggae, I love hip hop, I love rap, I love everything. I love metal, hard rock, anything that's good. Anything that's good.
Oh yeah, I grew up on all kinds of stuff. I mean, I played with the guy, Chris Opperman, who is a fantastic, he's like an avant-garde songwriter. He's very Frank Zappa-ish. And, he's a protege of Frank Zappa, and he worked with Mike Keneally. Yeah, he worked with Mike Keneally and awesome guys. And like, I got to play with him in college, which was an amazing experience because he would just put music in front of me. And it was like the craziest stuff you'd ever see. It was in like bizarre time signatures, and I had to like double. There was a marimba player, this girl Trish, and she was, she was insane. And like he's like, well, you're going to be playing what she's playing. And I don't know if you've ever seen a marimba player play. They sight read like everything is natural. Like she's playing insanely fast 16th notes, but she's sight reading it. And I'm like, I got to do this. So I had to really learn that stuff. And as fun as it was, I was like, I loved it, but it's not, it's not my style. And I enjoyed it because it was so different. The challenge, like you say, I love a challenge. And, like I said, growing up with like Billy Joel, and my dad was into Boston and Europe. And, I grew up listening to Toto and, all those bands. It was always about the songs. And that's kind of what that's what I got from it. And like, even though, my songs will never touch those songs with a 10-foot pole, but but that's where I draw my inspiration from. I draw that stuff from there, from those experiences, from what my dad showed me, Queen, and and then I developed a passion for blues music, which is, as a guitar player, I'm like, oh, I should listen to blues. But what I got more out of the blues music wasn't the guitar, it was the vocals. The soulful, the singing, the melodies, the lyrics. I know you just had Keaton Simmons on the other day, and I was watching you had actually sent me a link of one of his concerts he did, and oh my god, I was blown away. Like he has that bluesy, soulful, that singing, and like I wanted to write something like that. I still have.
He's a natural, man.
Yeah, he has that natural.
Yeah, he's a natural, dude. And to have him on was great. His stepfather, the legendary actor Eric Roberts. Oh my God, on my show. How awesome was that? And also to become, great friends with his family and friends. Yeah. To have him come on and perform too was stellar.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, he's like I said, he's got that natural soulful voice, which is awesome. And like, it took me, when I first started singing in Hearafter, there were a couple times, and I know, the guys aren't always happy to hear me say it, but there were a couple times when they actually came to me and said, we're thinking about looking for another singer because, it just doesn't work. And, it was at the beginning, and I know I wasn't great as a singer. I had a lot of work to do, And that's why I kind of took vocal lessons in college, and I kept at it. You know, it's just being told that, you know, you're not the guy the guy for the job was heartbreaking. And I think that's kind of where Mike kind of stepped in, and Mike kind of started singing, but I never stopped. I just kind of did it on my own. And that's kind of why all the songwriting, it's singer-songwriter, because I focus a lot on vocals. And a lot of it was because, you know, I had that being told that I wasn't good enough, I guess, kind of pushed me more to focus more on it. And, you know, obviously I've worked at it pretty hard. It's been, I don't know how many years since that, that conversation we had, but I hope I've gotten better, but,
well, I think you've certainly gotten better. And this song is a great indication. Track number 3, We All Will Fall, which is probably the happiest title of all time. But let's roll it out. Let's roll it out. This one's a good one. I like this one a lot.
hello.
Hello. Were we able to finish the song?
Yeah. I don't know if it went.
Okay. As long as it went through, that's all that matters. Good news is I can always edit. So
That's true.
Exactly. So no worries on that. Great song. I love the Tool type verse. Yep.
I always have a little bit of 7 in me and a little bit of 5 sometimes. Sometimes some other stuff, but yeah, 7. There's a lot of Tool. There's that song, and one of the other ones you're gonna hear a little bit later has a little bit of Tool in it as well, and Rush. You know, just a little bit of But
a
yeah,
little bit of everything. That's us in general. I mean, everything.
that's
I
my
keep saying
sprinkling
that
of
to people,
progressive.
yeah. But when we get to certain songs later, I'm going to mention artists that people are going to be like, wait, what? That was your influence for that song? I'm like, yeah, that was my influence, because I listen to so much different music, and we do, and that's how people should do it. Listen to everything, be open-minded. Even like recently, I got into country. I'm going to tell you why. It's a funny story, because my girlfriend's in the country, and country music, to my knowledge, for the most part, is about blue collar, paying your bills, going to work, showing up, being a man, doing all this type of stuff, and getting laid and drinking. So I'm like, I love it. It's so good. And you mentioned the blues before. I'm a huge blues guy, man. So I love everything. But the next one we have coming up is one of my personal favorites ever. Okay. This song, I love the opening chords. I'll Go to War is just straight up one of my favorites. So I'm going to let it just to work do its job right here, guys. Check it out.
You say everything is all my fault, but you won't go away. Tell me, what did you carry on? This twisted fallacy. I will go away. Today, I listen to you carry on, but you lie to me anyway. How come you feel the need to treat me this way and look in my face? I will go away. Times like these that we go to extremes, kill for the answers, and we lose the ones that we love. Can't believe that we let things get this way. Fight for no reason, and we pacify the progress we made. I will go away.
The chorus is my favorite part. I'll tell you about my experience about this song. First of all, I had Johnny Rambo Toe, the bass drum. Jeez, for whatever reason, I felt like filling that thing up because when I feel emotion, my legs start to kick in. You know,
I do the same thing, and I don't play drums.
It's the honest to God truth. That song was written with Tom, who was an original member of Hearafter, right?
Yeah, the bass player. Yeah, he has gone on to do a bunch of other musical things. He did. He was in a band called Burning Atom and Bombing Atom, and then another band called Blacktop. That was the other one. And it was like, you know, he had gone through different phases of music that he loved, and you know, that's why he kind of stopped playing with Hearafter. Is he wanted to do some other stuff, and he wanted to do more like the pop punk kind of stuff, which he loved, and he started playing guitar as well. So, which I thought was cool. You know, because I always knew him as a bass player, but he just started playing guitar. And the coolest thing is now we still play together. I live maybe literally 8 minutes from him, which is awesome. And we occasionally get together and we just jam on acoustic guitars, and we still write stuff. I mean, some of the songs on this album we wrote together, Tom and I. This wasn't one of the ones we sat down and wrote together. This one, he came over one day and he was like, I have this riff. He's like, we got to do something with this. And he showed me, it was just that, it was the intro, the dun, which ended up, you know, being the main rhythm for the song. But he was doing this little riff, and that was it. It's all he showed me. So I recorded it and I was like, all right, man, I'll work on it. So within like maybe a week or two, he came back over and I had written the whole song based off of just that intro. And basically, it was just the vocal part that I sing. And then Tom was like, I wrote a vocal part for the chorus. I'm like, all right. I was like, but I have a vocal part for the chorus. He's like, well, he goes, we can probably add my part in. I was like, all right, I hope it works because that'd be kind of cool. And he did it, and I was like blown away. I was like, oh my God, like his part it's so good.
Very powerful.
Yeah, and it's so necessary to the song. Like, it's cool. It's exactly like what you said before, a call and response, and that's exactly what that is. Like, I have my part, and then he has the response about
the sense of urgency in his voice.
Yeah,
you know? You really feel an immediate reaction to something.
Yeah, and the song really does cover a lot of what's going on now, like with the media and how we're being like led down a path, and it's their path, you know. So the media decides what we see and how it affects us, you know, like not getting into politics, but I'm just saying it's a dark road. So that's kind of what the song is about. It's about being led down a road that you have no control where you're going. So it's about the people, I guess, rising up and fighting back, not taking it anymore, but which is pretty much what's happening. So
doesn't Rage Against the Machine make more sense nowadays than ever?
Yeah. I mean, Tom Morello is a genius. I mean, he always was. And when I found out, oh man, I was in high school when I found out that he went to Harvard, and I was like, what? He went to Harvard, and I think at the time he was when Rage was huge in the beginning in the 90s. I think he was in his 40s then, and I was like, wow, man, the dude is so well established, knows his stuff. You know, he's one of those.
Oh yeah,
he's brilliant. I mean, he's a political science major.
When Rush did the Hall of Fame induction ceremony with Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters and Tom Morello on stage, what? Alex Lifeson, you know, I think Chris Cornell was up there even. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, that's like a face melting moment. So speaking about face melting, we were talking about guitar solos before.
Oh yeah.
On this song coming up, Memoirs, you got a guitar solo, bud, and it's badass. It's badass. Let's roll it out. Let's roll it out.
I thought I could last this long. This is not what I wanted. I wanted to stay. time for me to get this right. Flashing you left is gone. I never tried to be wrong. I just had to be perfect. There was no way out at all. I'll be back around again. I'll be home, it won't be long till I find what I've been looking for. Pictures ripped above the floor. It's time for me to get this right. This love inside won't last. These feelings just won't pass. No matter how I try, I was wrong to say goodbye. I'll be back around again. I'll be home, it won't be long till I find what I've been looking for. Pictures ripped above the floor. It's time for me to get this right. I'll be back around again. I'll be home, it won't be long till I find what I've been looking for. Pictures ripped above the floor. It's time for me to get this right.
One of my favorites, bro, that we did on this thing. The ending and just that guitar solo, dude. The phrasing.
I had a hard time with that song for a couple of reasons. One, I wrote it a long time ago, first of all, and it was one of those songs that I had started writing and just never finished it. And it was like we started working on. Well, I had written "Burn It Down" first, and then "The Waiting," and I was like, "How the hell am I following this up?" And like, I started going into like some of my stuff that I had, and I'm like, "Is any songwriter does?" I have like a folder of just old music that just I never did anything with, and I'm like, maybe just like a cool riff or something in there. And I do that a lot. And I found this song, and I'm like, it was, I felt like I liked it at the time I wrote it, and then I think I presented it to John when we were in Seven Wiser, and I thought maybe John would like it, and he, John's like, yeah, it's just not our style, and I was like, all right, well, I'll just kind of keep it in that folder, and it'll just chill there for a while. And
Well, I'm glad you did.
well, I mean, like the crazy thing is, I mean, the old stuff that I wrote is basically the verse, and that was pretty much it. I only wrote the verse and the intro, and that was it. And I added the chorus and the bridge, which I liked that bridge so much that I at one point thought I was gonna make it its own song, and I was just like, it's just not gonna work. It's like when you write, the song kind of writes itself. You have to kind of go where the song takes you, and that, like, the bridge was kind of presented in a way that it just needs to be there. Like I like the bridge; it's my favorite part of the song, and I wanted to, like I said, to utilize that, but it needs to be there. So
yeah, I like all of the song. It's one of my favorites that we've done for unique reasons, because I hear a lot of everything that we can do. I hear a lot of all of our influence. I hear a lot of Nirvana, Weezer, I hear guitar solos. I hear great playing on your behalf. Maybe okay on my behalf if people like it. Great, thank you. You know, like there's a lot going on in that song, and it's cohesive is the word I'm looking for, with all that hybrid. You know, because when you have so much going on, but it's very simple at the same time. And pretty much on the next track, we get a little bit simple here. This Life, we kind of chill it out a little bit, and then after that, you know, we're gonna rock out with You Know What's Out. This is a good one too. I really like this song a lot. Very different for us, and roll it out.
Too many times I struggled to reach. Where were you when I was in need? Let me defend all by myself, just a boy in a storm, waving farewell. Round and around I go, slow with the tide, it's all I know. I'm waiting for you to appear for me, just making my songs, living the dream. Now here we stand on our 2 feet, looking over this life. It was everything to me. I had it all, just a boy and his dream. I learned the hard way, it's not what it seems. Around and around I go, slow with the tide, it's all I know. I'm waiting for you to appear for me, just making my songs, living the dream. The time lets me know I have to let go. This life comes up fast, just won't last. This life
I wish I had a lighter during the bridge, but nowadays I vape, so I don't have lighters anymore because I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. So I just do the vape because that bridge, it makes me just want to do that lighter thing. And let me say this, that chorus reminds me of what Neil Peart said about a song. And I will never compare myself, guys, to Neil Peart. Never in a million years. But he had a song that he recorded, Half the World, and he told me, not told me, but he told the audience directly that he had a hard time keeping the tempo because the chorus had a weird feel to it. And this guy played Natural Science, La Villa, Strangiato, all this kind of stuff. And I've done stuff with you that were so complicated. We're in like, 15 time and then 17 time and then go into 3 and go to 6. When I got to the chorus of this song, I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I have to use that word.
No, even when we recorded it, like listening back, something didn't sound right, and I was like, it seemed like it was off, and I had to go back and re-record it a couple times, and it was the timing. It was just it was awkward timing.
But it worked. It ended up being great. I love the way the chorus hits, because I get it now, like hindsight being 2020, and have to learn the process of the part. But I was stuck. I was like, Bill, brother, I don't know what to do. Here we go with the Bill time again. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. Like, it's one of those rare occasions because, like, for example, a couple songs that we've done recently, like the overture, on time and stuff. That is very complicated. There's a lot of textures and layers to it.
Yeah,
I jump on it. Like, I love it. And then there's sometimes the little subtleties are the hardest part.
I mean, the hardest thing for me, not talking about the the theory of the music, but the song. When I wrote the song, I was very depressed about the fact that growing up, like most of us, want to become famous musicians and play in these big bands, and it's not about the money. It's about the ability to play in front of thousands of people and for people to actually care about what you're doing and listen to you and things like that. It's almost like the song was like a realization that it's just not going to happen. So like that's what it is. So it's like a look back. And that I don't regret it, and I'm not upset about it. I was, but I think this was my way of like a diary, I guess, where you write down what you're feeling and whatever, and it's just a way for you to kind of make peace with it, And I feel like this song was that for me. We both have jobs, and we work full time. I have a family, and it's difficult to do things. Especially in this day and age, the music industry it's a mess. It's like a free-for-all. But the idea of what we do is just the ability for us to make music and literally just put it out. And like, I hope people like it. I hope people want to listen to it. I hope people get to hear it at least, to make a decision if they like it or not. I'm not trying to make money. We're not really going to probably make crazy money doing this. So reality is we're doing this because we want to do it. It's fun.
It's a voice and it's an outlet. Like same thing with my podcast, same thing what I do with music, It's a release. We like you said, we have jobs, but this is something that we're very passionate about. And oftentimes, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'll come in and do a drum track in between, like doing lessons and going to work and doing whatever I got to do and taking care of like the kid at the home, and then even with the podcast, sometimes, dude, I've literally done podcasts while taking a shit because I had to take a shit and do a show. So it's like it's happened before. And I swear, and no disrespect to the guest that was on, they were great. We had a great time, but I had to take a shit and I had to do a show, and maybe that you could call it a shit show. All right. So this was not a shit show. Compromise. The next track was, and I'm going to say this a lot. There's a lot of tracks on here that I love. They're some of my favorites we've ever done. But Bill, anytime I do a song with you, I'm thankful to do it, and I love working with you, bro. Let's roll out Compromise.
To your side. let you know that we're trapped inside. Make your mind, do your best, showing off your pride. Don't be fooled by useless lies. It's just nonsense you despise. Don't be taken by surprise. You just got to compromise. Take a leap of faith with me. I can show you reality. Things aren't what they seem to be. Take these things so cautiously. Don't be fooled by useless lies. It's just nonsense you despise. Don't be taken by surprise. You've just got to compromise. Give me your best. Got to show that you're up to the test. This is real. Can't run away from these things that you feel. Don't be fooled by useless lies. It's just nonsense you despise. Don't be taken by surprise. You just got to compromise.
Okay, I always keep it at 100%. I'm going to tell you from a drummer's perspective. When I heard this song, I was very excited. I liked the upbeat tempo. I thought immediately of Blink 182, Travis Barker, and it's just giving credit where credit's due. A lot of it had to do with the song "Damn It" from back in the day from Blink. Going from the cut time to standard time, or if you will, halftime. I wanted to go with those layers, and I love this song. When you sent it to me, I got so excited, bro. What was your motivation to write this song?
Well, this was one of the songs that Tom and I wrote in his garage, actually, on acoustics. And he had another song that he had written, which had a very pop punk feel to it. And that's kind of the direction, that I went with it. It's just different. I haven't written anything like it before. So as a writer, I enjoy doing things that I haven't done before. I don't want all of my songs to sound the same. It's just, I wanted to experiment with a little bit of a different style, and it had like a little bit of an upbeat thing. It was actually a little bit longer, and I cut it because I just felt like it was dragging on too much. So, just wanted to keep it real, and like as a pop punk song, which it probably isn't, but the inspiration came from that. They're short; those songs are short, So like this was cool because we had songs we had written that are 20 minutes long, and this album, all the songs are just normal length. I mean, 4 minutes at most. None of them are more than 4, I don't think.
We have songs that go 20 minutes, sometimes 10, sometimes 15. And you guys hopefully will be listening to those songs in the future. Behind These Walls coming out. And, we got so much more music that we've been doing. And I love those songs too. And they work. And I can't wait to break those down. We should do this for every album that we've done because there's so much I want to talk about. And this song in particular coming up next, Desire. I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if for nothing else, if people don't feel like sitting through and listening to our nonsense, which is fine, it's there. You know what I mean? It's almost like if you buy a DVD and you have the commentary. So if somebody wants to know about the songs, if you're watching this, then thank you. And this is why we're doing it. I mean,
right.
We're not trying to be self-serving or anything like that. It's just, we really love music for what it is, and this is the perfect forum for us to talk about it. So,
for me, this next song coming up, Desire, like Bill sends me songs and I listen to them, and obviously some I like more than others, but I love all of them. I just love being a part of it. And over the past couple of years, I've been a part of great songs with Bill where I'm very happy to play on. This one, for whatever reason as well, just sparked something in me. This song called Desire. And I just loved putting the drum performance together. I loved the creativity that went into the song. It's very different from us, and maybe that's why I liked it. And I'm not trying to say I don't like it, brother, but
Oh, no,
you know, because I'm always expecting to be like, okay, I'm going to do 7, 3, 12. You
well,
know,
this is one of the older songs that I wrote on acoustic, and I wrote it. Oh man, probably in like 2001.
wow.
And it's been sitting around for a while. And every time I've showed it to somebody, they like it. So I'm like, I got to do something with it. So this was kind of my way of taking it and turning it into like a rock song. So it was awesome to send it to you and to hear what you came up with drum wise, you know, because I always love doing that because I have so many songs that I feel like will probably never see the light of day. So when I have a song that's like, oh, this song is, you know, this is a strong song, I got to send it to John and then see what you come up with, which is always fun because it's like, you know, it's like sending somebody a picture and then they get to color it and then they send it back and it's like, oh, I didn't think, you know, it's the giving you your creative freedom as well and to see what you can do with what I've given you.
It's so weird. When I got that song, I remember specifically, I went to Deftones first. I channeled my Deftones guy, and then I heard Peter Gabriel. I heard like, you know, just trying to play some tom work. And like, I go through so many different like categories. Like when we played the Waiting earlier, track number 2, that was like Dave Lombardo Slayer automatically, or At the Gates. Like, you know, there's always a hat you put on, like Neil Peart always says, you put on a hat. But what I like about your music, you make me put on like 5 different hats.
I'm all
like, I'm like, I gotta put this hat on.
That's where I'm progressive, not like, you know, I'm not as crazy as Dream Theater with the time signatures, and I am occasionally, but where I get progressive is in the styles. I change the styles up, and I don't do it on purpose. It's just I write whatever I feel like writing or whatever's there, and that's what comes out. So if you know the next album there's a blues song on it, that's
what I love is that you make me be able to be like all these different facets of the drumming style. You know, there's no limitations. You know, I can do exactly.
And it will always have my style to it, so it'll always sound like it fits. It's never going to sound like that song is out of place because, you know, it's just, even though it has those elements of, maybe it'll have elements of blues, but it will still be, you know, Hearafter rock, you know, whatever. It's just that's your voice, you know.
I mean, bottom line is, you know, the nuts and guts are going to come out at some point every single time.
I like heavy music, so
let's roll this one out. This is one of my favorites, guys. Desire. Enjoy.
It's probably one of the first fade outs I did.
I love the fade out. And I want to say this, like we were talking about other drummers that I was influenced by doing that song. Phil Collins, the drum fill. I'll be the first person to tell people when I rip someone off, but it's a compliment to them. Like,
yeah, of course.
But I did it in a different way. I put like a little double kick in there, so it's like a do 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 do. So it's not the exact same thing, but I just heard that like in the air tonight. Like I just heard that part. Ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, boom. And I remember I think I just saw The Hangover prior to.
Oh yeah.
Watching, yeah, I was watching that prior to recording that song, so it was kind of in my head. So I was like, this is a great opportunity, man. Great song, Bill.
Which is
great
cool.
Song.
Thank you. Which is cool though, because I never would have known that if you didn't tell me that. Because even though you say like, oh, I'm ripping off another, nobody would have heard that as, oh, that's in the air tonight, like.
But if you listen to it, it's identical.
Well, now I'm not going to not hear it. I'm going to hear it every time now.
So the next song, this one, The Avenged. I love this. I loved your guitar part originally. We talked about almost scrapping it, and I was like, no, dude, don't do that. Like, this song is awesome.
I think I had a hard time vocally with it, and by some miracle I pulled it out, and and the vocals ended up being decent. So yeah, I think originally when I was talking about scrapping, it was because I didn't know what to do with it. Like I felt like it was one of those songs I didn't know how to put vocals to it, and then I was just like, I do this a lot, and then I gotta just kick myself in the ass and say, just do it, man. Just start doing something. If it doesn't work, do something else, and then so it's just like play around until you get something that you like. And I ended up, liking it, and the song being called The Avenged, there's a lot of homage there to the obviously Avenged Sevenfold and a lot of the nonsense that's going on in the world, and it always comes up because it's whatever I'm thinking about, that's what I'm going to write about. So
absolutely. When I first heard you send it to me, and you're like, I'm not sure about this one. I'm like, no. I'm pretty sure about this one being a kick-ass tune for you. And like I said, like this record, I love what we were able to do, and more importantly, be a part of it. And this song right here, the way it just kicks off with this beautiful guitar part, very reminiscent, like you said. I was talking about paying homage to artists that I love, Phil Collins, and that last song having like about 70 different drummers jump on board. This one certainly is a little bit obvious up front, but we're not ripping them off. We're just, again, giving them credit. So roll this one out, man.
I don't think I could rip them off. They're
great band. Great band.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, dude. The lead guitar part, where'd that come from? Like,
oh boy, I don't even know. I don't even know. I just like when I started writing it, I threw in this little thing in the intro, and because I think originally in my mind it was going to be instrumental, and then
I remember you telling me that. Yeah, I remember that.
That's why I kept saying maybe we should scrap it, because I didn't know what I was gonna do with it. So I had that guitar thing in the beginning, and I remember thinking, and that was just like a scratch track I recorded, and like the feel of it was different, and I kind of liked it. So I decided that if I was gonna keep it, I was gonna keep this. That was just the first take I recorded the guitar thing, and that was just the way it came out.
Well, I'm also going to say this, you know, and unfortunately for selfish reasons, my girlfriend heard me listening to it, and she's a big Avenged Sevenfold fan. And she's like, "Oh my God, I love that part." I'm like, "Yeah, because it sounds like Avenged Sevenfold." You know,
I think that's pretty much the only part of the song that has any Avenged Sevenfold in it.
Right, exactly.
But those guys are killer guitar players, so I mean, like,
oh God, man, they are amazing guitar players. And you know, speaking about, you know, guitar players and what you do on this next track here, bro. You know, My World for Walter. I'm gonna let you take the lead on this in a moment.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you do a lot of things. It's got a lot of Chevelle type vibe, System of a Down, but there's more outside of just musicians about this song. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So at the time that I wrote the song, like I guess we were in the middle of finishing this album, and I had not written lyrics for the song yet, so it was basically just the music. And I think as a joke, when I sent it to you, I called it like Toolish Games, because I do that sometimes. I give you like weird titles, and they usually have something to do with whatever the influence of the song is. But yeah, it was like my Toolish song. So I was kind of just sitting around. My mom called me, and she told me that my old neighbor, my friend Walter, had killed himself, and I was devastated. And when I found out what had happened, he was in the Marines, I believe, and he was home, and he was suffering from PTSD. And I know that's such a huge thing for a lot of our soldiers, and not even just our soldiers, but just people have been through any kind of traumatic experience. And so I was like, devastated naturally. As he was my friend and my neighbor growing up for years. I lived in that house for 20 years, and we used to play hockey outside. And anytime we'd play out in the street, he would come down with his brother, and they would play. His brother John, who's an awesome guy, and we play together. And he had a great family. He had a great, his mother was awesome, and his sister. And I don't know, I was just devastated, and I just felt like that was what was happening in my life at the time. So I went into full research mode, and I was reading up on PTSD. And I'm nowhere near any kind of expert, but a lot of the things that I got from reading, translated into my lyrics. And I wrote the song for him because also for other people who are suffering from the same thing. It's a call to get help if you feel like you're having any kind of PTSD, any kind of recurring thoughts or depression. It's most important thing to do is talk to somebody. And like, the way I deal with things is writing. It's not always music. Sometimes I write stories, sometimes I write just anything. I write a letter to nobody, but it's just something I need to say, and I don't physically want to say it. I write it down. That's what this song was. I was depressed. I talked to John, his brother, about it. And I said, would it be okay if I used his name on the song? And he said, oh, of course. He would have been honored. And I said, of course. And I told him, I said, it's for everybody, but Walter obviously being my friend, which is why I titled it, for Walter. But he had told me he was going to share it with his buddies, his army buddies. And I don't know if he did, but I just like I said, we write music because we love writing music. We hope people get to hear it. We hope people like it. That's all you can do. I mean, some people may not like it. That's fine. But this song I felt was, I needed to write it. It was powerful for me because of what I was going through, and I'm sure what his family was going through, and what he went through. So
absolutely, man. Let's roll it out. This one's for Walter. Let's do it.
Step into my world. It's so dark in here. Can't see the shadows anymore. Step into my mind. Nothing is clear. I can't see their faces anymore. What have I done? What have I become? I'm lost within myself. Safe from this hell. Something's wrong with me. Multiple blind lights. People getting on my bad side. Something's wrong with you. You're pushing me away. You know I shouldn't be alone. What have I done? What have I become? I'm lost within myself. Safe from this hell. Cannot take back what I've done. I cannot hide from what I've become. Everything is lost. Everyone has gone away. What have I done? What have I become? Lost within myself. Please save me from this hell.
So impactful, just so incredible in terms of the lyrics you came up with to describe someone that might be going through things that you were talking about. And, I deal with combat sports world, and I know that there are people that are really messed up, from head trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And to hear something like this, it's like to go back and listen, like, yes, I recorded on it. Yes, I know the song. Yes, I listened to it 1,000 times trying to record it right. But to hear something like that really, it chokes you up. It's like I don't even think about me playing the drums. I don't think I think about the person. I think about what that song means.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough to write,
Oh man, but a great job. And the next track, luckily, we're alive, and that's the name of the next track. And hopefully, Walter's family is doing well, the best they can. And salute to all the soldiers. Like, I'm getting choked up. You can hear it in my voice. I'm gonna say salute to all the soldiers out there. and people of the world. Because, dude, not to sound corny, but I will, is that this world is a fucking mess. And that's why we wrote this album. And we started writing, a couple of years back about this album. And a lot of it has to do with our reaction to the things that have transpired.
Yeah, it's a big buildup of.
It's a big buildup.
Yeah, this has been building for a long time. I mean, this years and years and years, but you could feel the tension getting so thick now, like to where if you go, I'm sure everybody knows, if you go online, you can see somebody's either on one side or on the other, and there's like very few people in the middle, or the people in the middle are just quiet because you don't hear from them, but you hear from people on one side and you hear from people on the other side, and it's insane. It's like people who were friends are no longer friends because it's almost like another civil war. But
it's wild. It's wild.
Crazy. I get it. Like, I get what a lot of these people are fighting about, and I understand and I agree with a lot of it, but it's tough. I mean, it's to see what the media is doing to it and how they're portraying it's tough. It really is.
I agree, man. And that's what this next song is about staying alive.
Yeah,
it's fighting through it, persevering. We're fighters,
Yeah, I mean, this is like one of those I'd never written like a motivational song, and not that this one is 100% motivational, but
it is.
There's some stuff in there, the verses, which are there's some dark stuff. There's always dark stuff, but yeah, it is one of the more motivational things I've written.
I mean, we're from New Jersey originally. There's always going to be dark stuff, and we're Italian, so you're always going to have the dark side a little bit.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're always going to have a little bit of that aggression, like over here now with the hands. But this song, what I loved about it is that we did an album, and it's going to be a double shot, guys. This one is going to be full-on band, in which, let me tell you guys, Bill plays bass, guitar, piano, sings, does everything. All I do is show him and go like this, play the drums. Okay? Bill does everything. He writes the majority of the songs. Actually, all the songs, all I do is come up with a drum beat. Sometimes he even lays that out for me. This guy is one of my musical heroes. Bill, I have to say that. Like, I'm going to be real with you, bro. I'm going to be real. And so this song, when we summed up this album that had so many different tones, we started off angry and fucking pissed off, telling people to burn shit down. And then the waiting comes up. And then we went through all these other tracks about compromising. And, this one isn't really one of those like storybook albums, but it really is.
Yeah. If you look at the title, there's a big metaphor behind it. Like,
there's a metaphor here.
Like for me, if you look at this life about how I so badly wanted to become a famous musician when I was a kid, and as an adult too, it's always been a passion of mine. But I don't care about the fame part of it anymore. Burn it down is to like kind of release, you release those those things that
energy.
Yeah, it's energy.
Yeah, it's energy, man. It's aggression. It's energy. So with this one coming up, guys, you're gonna get a double shot. We have a song called "Alive." And then also Bill did a wonderful acoustic version of the song that I was very adamant about saying, dude, because that's how he presented me the song originally. And I almost didn't want to put drums to it. So for me, I go hard or I go home. I'm like, I'm either going to do a whole lot of shit or nothing at all, So when he gave me that song, I still felt that the acoustic version, which you'll hear in the follow-up, would be a great release as well, and people would enjoy that for different reasons because of musical taste. So let's let it roll.
you don't even care. I'll bet you sleep well. Not a care in the world. 'Cause you're not worth the pain. I'll bet you tell yourself that everything's okay. 'Cause I'm alive. Not know that I'll survive. 'Cause I'm here. I'll always persevere. 'Cause I'm alive. Not know that I'll survive. 'Cause I'm here. I'll always persevere. I wanna hear you say that everything is okay. How many times have I heard this line? You treat me like dirt. Now the truth is out. Now you know what you're worth. I hope this hurts. 'Cause I'm alive. Now I know that I survive. Because I'm here. I'll always persevere. 'Cause I'm alive. Now I know that I survive. Because I'm here. I'll always persevere. That's what I get. Giving you my best. I take it back. If I only had the chance, I'd want that life. 'Cause I made the time. I've lost my mind. That's what I get for giving you. 'Cause I'm alive. Now I know that I survive. Because I'm here. I'll always persevere. 'Cause I'm alive. Now I know that I survive. Because I'm here. I'll always persevere.
Yo, I'm going to tell you a couple things. Listening back to that song from a drummer's perspective, okay, I am trying to play subdivisions, giving away all my secrets in the verses from Neil Peart with the bell and hi-hat pattern with toms. The beginning pattern is Jeff Porcaro from Toto and Mushanga, right? And then I do a rumba pattern from also, I don't know if Jeff did that track, but from Steely Dan, a song called Blackjack and Do It Again. I'm always fascinated with Latin rhythms. That's always been my thing as a drummer. I love, tribal rhythms. I love African beats, Afro-Cuban rhythms. I'm always fascinated by it because you keep busy, and I'm a very active person. So
No.
you don't say.
Yeah, you are. But no, I mean, that it worked. I mean, when I first heard it, I was like, this is not what I expected would be there, but it works so well. And that verse part, the subdivisions part, I freaking love the hi-hat ride thing. It's such a cool little, it is definitely a compliment to Neil, and I never would have realized that, but
articulation, even on the last album we did with Time, I pay a lot of respect to Stuart Copeland, and it's funny, people would say I don't see that, but I was always taught from my mentors to just do things when they feel right. It doesn't matter the style of music. just if it feels right. Yeah. So if you want to play a fucking jazz pattern, go ahead and play a jazz pattern. If it works, it works.
Yeah, as long as it works, that's the key. I mean,
yep.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I mean, the whole halftime thing or the cut time, it was awesome.
Well, that was your recommendation. You did go with that. Yeah, I can't take the credit for that.
Well, I mean, the tom pattern, I felt like it needed to open up at one point, at some point. So I was like, so I think the first chorus we did both. It was like half and half, and then the second chorus was all the toms, and the last chorus was just the cut.
I agree.
It was almost like a little hint. Here's what's going to happen.
And it was really great. And that's the one thing I got to say, Bill, about the way we work and any musicians listening about how to work with someone for 20 years, and just do what we're doing from 2,000 miles away. I'm in Vegas. He's in New Jersey, and record music. If you want to have an existence as musicians and have like some kind of like friendship, is that you got to be willing to take, constructive criticism. That's what I love about us. Like, you'll tell me shit and I'll be like, all right, I agree with you. Let's go with it. And I'll say, you know what? I think you should sing this song. And you might be like, no, I don't feel like you can. And I'm like, no, you can, so we have situations where we're pressing each other, and that's brotherhood. That's a family. We don't go to blows and, strike each other or anything like that, guys. But it's important when you're working with a musician, a fellow musician, and to have longevity of over almost 20 years, like, you got to be able to talk to them and let them know their best suits and their worst, and let them know how to be the best musician they can be. And then therefore you'll get the best result.
Well, it's like that with anything. Friends, marriage, same thing.
Yep. Exactly. And this is a segue into what I was saying to Bill, to release this song where Bill just plays acoustic guitar and sings. I love this. It's the same song you just heard, guys, but in a different way.
You put me through hell, and I know I can tell that you don't even care. I'll bet you sleep well, not a care in the world, 'cause you're not worth the pain. I'll bet you tell yourself that everything's okay, 'cause I'm alive, and I know that I'll survive, 'cause I'm here, I'll always persevere, 'cause I'm alive, and I know that I'll survive, because I'm here, I'll always persevere. I wanna hear you say that everything is okay. How many times have I heard this line? You treat me like dirt. Now the truth is out. Now you know what you're worth. I hope this hurts, 'cause I'm alive, and I know that I survived, because I'm here, I'll always persevere, 'cause I'm alive, and I know that I survived, because I'm here, I'll always persevere. That's what I get for giving you my best. I take it back. If I only had the chance, I'd walk that line, 'cause I made the time. I've lost my mind. That's what I get for giving you. 'Cause I'm alive. Now I know that I survived. Because I'm here, I'll always persevere. 'Cause I'm alive. I know that I survived. Because I'm here, I'll always persevere.
Awesome.
That's
I told you from day one that it was just great the way it was, but I had somehow had to dump my drums on it and be like, okay, I got this.
I mean, I think it was always going to be a rock song to some extent anyway, but, you know, when I did it on acoustic, I write most of the stuff acoustically because, well, number one, it's easy. Like, I grab my acoustic guitar and I just start playing, and like it's easier to create stuff that way. All of Time I wrote on the piano, which was weird, which was different for me because I had never really done that.
So much fun that album was.
As an album, yeah, it was, and I think that's why it has so much of the singer-songwriter feel to it, was because I wrote it all on a piano. You know,
we have to do that one next, the deep dive into Time, because I got a lot of stories I want to tell you about that one, bro.
Well, I wrote the whole album on Post-it notes. They're right here.
But I want to say this, like, what I love about what I heard from, revisiting this album we just did, is that I hear a lot of the great musicians that we worked with, and we talked about great bands, but think about it. Like you mentioned your boy Tom, we talked about John Santos from Seven Wiser, Bobby Kimball. What the F? Like, what? Like,
the only thing that makes me sad about Bobby Kimball is I wish my dad was alive to see that that we actually worked with him.
Bill, I got to share that with you.
The Toto, and like the fact that Bobby asked, if it would be okay if he sang on one of our songs. I was like, is this a joke? Like, I'm honored.
Dude, I'm in the same boat, and I hate to chime in on you on this because I feel it too, because I'm getting emotional about it, is that my father introduced me to Toto originally, and there was a pay-per-view concert back in the day, and he's like, listen to this guy sing. This guy's the greatest voice ever. And then next thing I know is that I'm in drum lessons with Dino, who I mentioned earlier, and he's putting on all these songs, and I can't put two and two together, but I said enough to understand, like, I like what I'm hearing in terms of like what I'm trying to play to. I'm like, what's that band? He's like, Toto. I'm like, what's that band that did that song? Toto. I'm like, wow, I guess I like Toto. And then I saw Bobby Kimball in New York City in 2004. And that was the most powerful voice I've ever heard. And when he did our track for us, I could not believe the projection.
The power that guy has, man.
Oh, my God.
That's why I started taking vocal lessons. Because, I want to be able to do that, but I know he has this natural ability. I'm sure he still works at it, but oh, my God. Like, I think it was something you showed me he did on piano, and he was just playing piano and singing. Oh, God. Like, I mean, that's why he is who he is. That's why he has 7 Grammys. I mean, the guy's freaking fantastic.
His rhythm and his timing, and he's so humble about it, too. He's so very humble about it, and such an approachable, just great guy. Yeah. But when he's doing his thing, like his phrasing and just the way he articulates things and his ability to play piano and sing at the same time effortlessly, like you said, naturally.
Yeah, he's just and he has that soulful voice that I love, and that blues style. I just freaking love that. Like, I think that's where when I sing, I get a little bit of the raspiness. It's from that, like, from listening to that style of music and wanting to sing like that. But I obviously don't have those chops, but my chops are a little different. But even still, like growing up with that stuff is just like, and to see that it's, you know, it's real. Like
It's very real. It's very real.
Power. Oh man.
It's very real. And I'll tell you what's real too. Spoiler alert, guys. Bobby Kimball will be back on the next release that we put out. Bobby Kimball's coming back. And what I love about him is that he wants to do something heavy. He's like, I want to do something. I don't want to do like the ballad stuff. He's like, I like the ballad we did. It's nice, you know. But he's like, I want to do something hard and edgy. I'm like, all right. So I sent him a bunch of our stuff. He's like, all right, some of these might be a little too crazy. Not because he can't handle it. He just, I don't know. But then he found one he really liked. And I'm not spoiling it. I'm just spoiling the fact that Bobby Kimball will return to Hearafter. And he loves you, man, you know, and he loves what we do over here now. And and this has been great, dude. You know, any final thoughts about, you know, music and anything you want to share?
I mean, just to like reiterate what I said, you know, we do what we love to do because we, you know, that's the way I always looked at it is I like to try to make the music that I would want to hear, I guess, you know, and in the end, you know, because I never expect people to go out and buy it. I never tell people, like, I don't know. I was always the kind of guy who was afraid to tell people like, hey, go buy my album. Like, cause I always felt like that's kind of like, it feels low. Like, and I know people do it and that's fine, but for me, it never felt right. So whenever I do something with music, I just do it because I want to do it. And like, I do try and promote it to my friends, but not in the sense of buying it, just to check it out on YouTube. Listen, just give it a chance. Like maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. Either way, like if you give it a chance, that's all I ask. You know, the one thing I got out of, I actually did hang out with Mike Keneally at one time in college, and I'll leave you with this thought because it was something that I was a kid. I was probably about 20. Yeah, I guess about 20. And I'm in college. I'm playing with this kid, Chris Overman, who's a Frank Zappa protege. And Mike Keneally was there producing the record. And we were just talking about, he was working with Steve Vai and he was playing with all, you know, he played with Frank Zappa. And I'm just like, you know, I don't know what it is about music. I said, I'm not, you know, it's not the money. I think it's just, well, it's fun. I love it. But I said the only thing I ever want to get out of it is I just want a little respect, because as musicians, you work hours and hours of your life. I spent my whole childhood playing piano and playing guitar, you know, because I love it. I want to, you know, it's like the idea of getting your voice out. You want someone to just give you a chance and listen. That's all you ask for, you know, like. And I feel like that conversation I had with him about being respected, and it was funny because he was in the middle of mixing, and he just turned around and he goes, "I respect you." I was like, it's silly, and it's one of those things like I just remember.
It's not silly.
No, I mean it's silly in the way he did it. Like it was just he was in the middle of mixing and he just stops and he turns around, he just looks over and he's like, "I respect you." I was like, well, thank you. I mean, that's all I wanted. So
for me, in my regard, saying it's not silly is that you're putting yourself in front of an audience. You know, the same way I do with a podcast. Exactly, the same way I do
out there. Because
you know, you put yourself.
You're gonna get criticized no matter what. When we released the single with Bobby Kimball on YouTube, there was one comment. And it was just. You know, I laugh about it because you have to laugh about it. But the one guy was like obviously listening because it was Bobby, and he's like, "But the song is shit." He wrote it in Italian, so I went through the process of translating it to find out that he had said, "But the song is shit."
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like when you put yourself out there, and I saw that comment, and I do it even with my podcast. I get it sometimes, I get some heat, and I just shrug it off. I don't even respond to it because these people, they try to interject, they try to get into your life, they try to say things, right, to get a response from you. And either which way, whether they're doing it for a certain particular reason or not, I don't care. I got other shit I gotta do. You know,
okay.
like
I'm okay. If you don't like the music, that's okay. I mean,
if you don't like the music, you don't like the music. If you don't like the podcast, don't listen to it. That's how I feel. Like, you know,
I'm just doing it because I like it. I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm not trying to, make millions off of something. And I just, if I, hey, it's one of those things. If it happened, it would be a miracle, and I would treasure every second of it. But at the same time, I'm gonna keep doing it because this is what I like to do. I have, like we said, we have jobs.
Yeah.
This is our passion. And that's really it. I mean, that's it.
And it has been for me for a long time, dude. Real quick, I'll sum this up real fast. Is that when I was about 7 years old, my father started showing me guitar, and I liked it, but then I kind of quit and went to martial arts and all this type of stuff. And then I heard, Rush's Show of Hands album, and it's a live album.
I know, it's phenomenal.
I was blown away. And I had already listened to Iron Maiden, a lot of bands, Metallica, Motley Crue, but something about Rush just made me want to fucking play the drums. I was like, holy shit. And the next thing I know, my father thankfully got me a drum set, and I never looked back. I just went for it, and thankfully I did, because it's one of the most greatest releases I have, in terms of playing and just like, whatever you have built up inside you with emotion, creativity. And so to play music with you and be able to, let that loose. When I hear a song like the Overture, we'll probably do Time next, the last album we put out. When I was able to do that song, it was such it was incredible release. It was just something that I cannot explain. It's almost like, it's going to sound a little weird. It's like an orgasm. It's like you feel like you just released yourself when you play music to that degree. And I'm so thankful, brother, that we were able to do all this all these years. And we got more shit we're going to do. We ain't done.
No, yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I still will come down. I'm in my basement. But like, I'll still come down to this room. I set up a room for music because, I got a lot of crap, and, and I need a place where I can just kind of get down and just start playing. And like, I will literally come down here sometimes, like a lot of nights, and grab a guitar and just start playing along with an album like I did as a kid. I mean, I would just I usually play to like Scenes from a Memory, or like I'll grab, the other day I was playing a Megadeth. I haven't played that stuff in years, but I was just like, you know what? I just feel like playing whatever to get, just trying to relive those old, what was it I was so passionate about as a kid? I still have it, but it's, as you get older, your tastes change and your styles change and everything. It's not, you do it on purpose. It just, you grow, you emotionally grow as a person. Therefore, your musical styles kind of follow. If you grow up as an adult and you become angrier, I'm sure your musical taste is going to kind of follow that. I kind of mellowed out. I chilled out. I was never really angry, but I always had, I would say, a chip on my shoulder. But I always had that whole, I grew up playing piano, and I was 4 years old when I started. I have no idea how I did it. I taught myself, and I ended up with this music teacher who went to Juilliard. His name was Richard, and he was, awesome teacher. But he was the type of guy that I would come in one week, and I'd say, I want to learn this song from Beethoven. And he was like, ooh, he was like, that's brutal. He goes, there's no way you're going to be able to play this song. I was like, but, I said, well, eventually. He goes, yeah, eventually. He goes, but, he goes, you're not ready for that. So I would literally go home, and I would, by the next week when I had to go back for my lesson, I would learn the song, and then I would play it for him, and he'd be like, wow. But it was like it was him telling me I couldn't, that I guess motivated me to do it, which is kind of what happened with the singing thing, where, it's not that, Jerry and Tom made me feel like I was never angry about it. I was never like, at the time I kind of agreed. I was like, yeah, but I like it. And it was something I wanted to do. So I was like, yeah, it would hurt because it was true, and I wasn't that great of a singer. And, I was more of a guitar player, but I switched to guitar when I was about 10. Same story with you. With your dad gave you a guitar. I did the piano on my own, but when I was probably around 8 or 9, I was itching to kind of to get more into. I was more into rock music, and there was no piano in rock music. So aside from Billy Joel, and I was just
Queen,
like,
Queen, Billy Joel, yeah.
But it was used in such a way, it wasn't really the main focus of the music. So I was like, I kind of gravitated toward guitar. My uncle Dom, who passed, but he was a guitar player growing up. I had no idea. So when I told him, he was like, I have your sister's old guitar. She played when she was younger and then gave up. And I was like, okay. He's like, I'm going to go in the attic. He goes, I'll get it for you. I was like, all right, cool. And he came down this case and a little amp, and he gave it to me. I went home and I started playing a guitar. And it just literally it probably took me about a year before I realized that most of the stuff I was playing was not correct. Like I was just playing along to albums thinking that I was playing the songs. But after about a year of really listening, and at least I had some piano training, so I knew notes and I knew things like that. But the guitar was like a completely different instrument. And I was like, I was probably playing the rhythms correctly, but the notes were not there. So I was just like, this is all wrong. So I had to learn how to. We didn't have YouTube, so.
You know what I could have waited for is that when I finally got my drum set, my father bought it for me for Christmas. I was probably about 12 or 13 years old, and I could not wait to play because I was listening to so much music, and I put music on and just played to it automatically. Like I remember the first song I played to was "You" by Candlebox. And my bass drum was pretty solid. Like I always had that Rambo toe for whatever reason. My legs were always good. And so I eventually would go on to playing to other albums, I should say, like Moving Pictures by Rush and all these other things. And I have to say that there was points in time when I was listening to music and discovering like the power of music, really getting a concept. Like, yes, I listen to Motley Crue and they're fine. I listen to Iron Maiden and they're great. But then I started discovering bands like you talked about, Boston, the Totos of the world, the Scorpions, Journey, obviously Rush. It blew my mind. I was obsessed, bro. I would just sit down all the time and play.
I was new to playing guitar when I got my hands on Images of Words. And like,
wow.
I know. And it was like, wait, what was that? 92? Yeah, I think it was like 1992. I was, oh crap, how old was I? I was 10.
Much younger than you are now.
Yeah. Like probably 13, I guess. That was my guess. 6, 7.
Yeah.
I was like 13 years old. I just started playing when I was 11. So I was only 2 years in on the guitar. And I just started playing along to it. Trust me, it was all wrong. But in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm playing it. Like this album it was amazing. It was just, that album like changed my life. And, I ended up, going hardcore into guitar. And I ended up, getting a guitar teacher because I wanted to go to college for music. So you needed to have a certain amount of years of lessons. And I found this guy, Steve Leslie. He was an awesome guitar teacher. He actually went to Berklee College of Music, and I decided that that's where I wanted to go. And
direction is everything. Yeah, direction is everything.
And I don't regret going to Berklee. Berklee was an amazing experience for me. Very expensive, and just.
I remember that. I remember that at the time.
Yeah, I met so many cool people there. I mean. John Mayer was there when I was there. I think he lived, was it the floor above me? I think actually I was on the 6th floor. He was on the 7th floor.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think he was in a couple of my ear training classes. Harmony. He was only there for I think he was there for 1 semester or 2. A lot of the musicians that go to Berklee, they go to Berklee and then they leave. I guess they get what they get out of it, and then they start.
Wait, are you saying that musicians are flaky? Dude, this is the most flakiest industry, and I'm also involved in the boxing world, which I love boxing, but man, some shady shit goes on. Musicians, oh my goodness, man.
Yeah,
The
it's
most proper people in the world will present themselves to you and tell you like, "Hey, I'm here. I want to do this gig." Yeah, great. And then they don't show up
well, now you know why. Now you know why I play bass, piano, sing,
because you
play
got to
guitar.
cover it all.
Because I don't have, yeah, because I can't trust anybody else to do it. I
I'm
mean,
telling you, I'm telling you, I go through it. You
Tom's
know,
an amazing bass player, an amazing songwriter. I'm lucky that, I grew up with him. We met each other in third grade, and a lot of the music, like playing in bands, it was because of him and his dad. Believe it or not, his dad was a fantastic piano player, and he used to play and sing Billy Joel, and I would just sit in the living room and just watch him. And I was just like, oh my god, like
it's
like
got to
that's
come
kind of,
from somewhere. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and he had that growing up, and he played piano, and then he started playing bass. I don't know what brought him to bass, but he got really into the bass, and then we started playing together, and we, in his garage, and we met Jerry in probably seventh grade, eighth grade, and because Jerry went to a different school, Tom lived maybe a block away from me, so we went to the same grade school, and Jerry lived in Ramtown, which is another area of Howell, and we used to meet up for band because Tom played the trumpet in the band. I played the drums in the school band, and Jerry obviously was a drummer. And we would meet up. Our music teacher went between the two schools. So he would have these concerts, school concerts, and then he would have both of the schools get together at a night, and we would do like a combined band concert between the two schools. And that's actually how we met Jerry. And I also met another friend,
Great
Joe.
drummer. Jerry's an amazing drummer.
He really is. He's like insane.
Phenomenal. He's phenomenal.
Let's put it this way: the guy never stops working. So obviously, he's in like three cover bands at the same time. He's in an original project with Tim. Tim from
of course.
Yeah, from John, and Tim's awesome too. We were going to work together on some of his stuff. Like he sent me some of his stuff, and at the time when he sent it to me, I was living in a condo, and I didn't really have a good setup for recording or a place to basically do it. So I just wasn't able to do it at the time. But situation.
One thing I want to say about Jerry is that the original drummer of Hearafter is his, ability to play a song spot on to what the actual artist did, which is very hard for a drummer, especially, considering there's, when he covers a drum song like Van Halen, Neil Peart. We're not talking about like cookie cutter shit here. We're talking about like really hard, difficult things. And I'm always in awe of his ability to do that.
We joke around about it sometimes because we, growing up, we played together and we were all into Dream Theater, and we used to joke around like, well, let's get together and we're gonna cover. I think we covered Under a Glass Moon when we were kids. It was ridiculous, but the music was pretty good. The vocals were not. I didn't even do the vocals. I was like, I'm not even gonna attempt this. But I just wanted to do the music because it was just like I had no way to play the guitar part without playing along with the album. And Jerry could play the drum parts. I was like, we got to do this. So at the time, we didn't have technology like we have today. I had like a 4-track recorder. I would go to Jerry's house with literally, I think I had 2 microphones, like cheap, crappy microphones, like Radio Shack microphones. And Jerry had 2 microphones. So like there's our 4 tracks. And I would literally mic up his drums. We'd put one in the bass drum, one on the snare, and then the other 2 just overhead. And it was like the crappiest mics ever. And we would plug him into the 4-track and record him playing, let's say, Under a Glass Moon with no music behind it. He just remembered the song. I was like,
I know, he's so good at that.
How do you just remember
so good at
that song is hard as hell? And like
instinctively, instinctively. I could see that. Like, when I watch him play something, I know this because I watch drummers all the time. That's what I've been doing. I've been teaching drummers for the past, I don't even know, 30 years. I've been playing drums forever. And the thing is, when I hear him and I watch him in his videos with Jerry, I say to myself, man, this guy really, his muscle memory is insane.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Like the way he hits things and his timing is excellent. Excellent timing.
He never played to a click, ever. Like, it's bizarre. Like, if you listen to the original, if you listen to the original Imagination, you could hear that we recorded it on the 4-track.
Yeah, I remember that.
for that album, we went a little higher quality. So for the 4 tracks, we used splitters on each of the 4 tracks. So we had 8 microphones plugged into 4 tracks. It was insane.
Jesus.
It was insane. And the quality came out pretty good considering it was a 4-track on a cassette tape. And then I dumped it down to, I had a Gateway computer at the time. And I think I was using, I don't even remember if it was Sony Vegas or something. And I was using that to record. And I would come home with the tape with all the drum tracks on it. I still have the tapes. And then I would just plug it into the computer and then just press play, press record on Sonar or whatever it was I was using. And it would record the drum track as he played it. And then I would go and I'd add my guitars. And then I would call Tom. And then Tom would come over and he would do his bass part. And it was ridiculous because there was never a click track ever. If you listen to the original, what was the song? Remember, the timing on that song is all over the place.
Well, I had to figure out a lot of these songs, so I remember it. I remember putting it on and playing through it. Yeah, it was a little dicey. It was a little tough, but I got to give him credit. His precision and his articulation was spot on. And that's why I was so like intrigued by playing with you and playing with those guys. And when I went there, I was like, damn, I got some big shoes to fill because Jerry is no joke, dude. Like I'm telling, I knew that back then. I'm like, this guy could play. This guy could play his ass off.
What's amazing is when I had him to, we re-recorded Imagination, which we'll put out sometime in the future. But when we re-release it, but he came over and he recorded it on the electric set over there, but he had he brought his own pads. He had all mesh pads, and when he recorded, it was like effortless. It was like there was no. He was just like wasn't breaking. It was just like it was weird. It was just like I think I recorded it on my phone because I was just like he was facing the wall, so he wasn't even looking at anything. But I had at least we have a click track now, and I figured out how to do that. And I had, headphones running to him, and I had to rig something together because he was getting a delay. So I had to rig the headphones through the monitor for the drum so he could hear it right from there. But what I was recording was his performance, and it was just like he wasn't even trying. It was just like, and like the fills were so fast, and he's just like it's just like he's just floating.
Very loose, loose.
It's crazy, but that's Jerry. Hey, that's Jerry.
Yeah, that's amazing, and shout out to Jerry big time. Real quick before we end the interview and stuff like that, is that I want to talk about my first experience with Rush outside of the show of hands. I remember when I heard Moving Pictures. Right, my mom was decorating a Christmas tree, and she puts on a Moving Pictures. I'm like, this is. What? Like, this is amazing. And we decorated our Christmas tree to Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Limelight, Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, and Vital Signs. And yes, I did them all in order. That's how it went. And she's like, you like Rush nowadays? I'm like, yeah. She's like, nah, you got to check this one out. I'm like, well, so we're decorating. I'm actually putting ornaments on a Christmas tree with my mom, and she puts on Rush Moving Pictures. Forever changed my life. So I have to stand corrected. Show of Hands was the gateway in the door. Yeah. But she and I heard Moving Pictures already, but just to do it with that, like that was like, this is so rock and roll. This is so amazing, And even to this day, my mom is ass, dude. She'll answer the phone. She's like, "What up?" I'm like, "Okay." So shout outs to moms, bro. That's what I'm saying, everybody. Shout outs to awesome moms that raise kids right. And Bill, this was so much fun, man. A lot of people are going to enjoy this, trust me. And I appreciate you sharing all that insight with me, dude.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's always fun to talk about music, even outside of our own music. I mean, we do what we do because we do it, but just to like shoot the shit about, we all grew up with different influences, and turns out a lot of them weren't different, but just
right.
And it's cool that we could bring it together in a way that we're making music that has a lot of it, which is the idea, which is, that's where you go. I mean, you listen to music forever, and what's the next step? To make your own. So, you're always going to have those influences behind you, because those are the voices that led you there.
And that's what it's supposed to be about, man. Like, I mean, for me, I got a lot of kids I teach and stuff like that. I got a lot of adults I teach as well. I teach all types of people over the years. And, the thing is, it's to inspire and just do something with it. Whether it gets like recognition or not, it's fulfillment.
Yeah,
like you get fulfilled by it, and it's great, and it gets the brain going in a stimulated fashion.
Absolutely. And that's why I come down here sometimes and I just jam to old albums like Dream Theater, and just because I just enjoy it. It makes me happy. Like it's my happy place. That's
I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Like, I'll go on Facebook and just go live and challenge myself to play a song I haven't played in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is going to sound probably like shit, but whatever. Like, I'm going to go on muscle memory. And it's funny how much you remember. It's crazy.
It's true. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, once I start grooving, like I did Steely Dan's, what was it? Green Earrings.
Yeah.
And this groove is like 1-2 and a 4 and to do, and the hi-hat's busy, it's fast, it's all this articulation with ghost notes, with snare drum. And I'm like, when I started playing, I'm like, I shouldn't be live right now because I'm gonna look like shit. But then it came back like 10, 15 seconds later. It started. It just got back,
It's interesting because I've seen a lot of people. I watched a couple of your live things. I'm not on Facebook that much, but when I go on, like I'll catch some of my friends. My friend Andy recorded a live stream of him playing his piano music. He writes and records this really awesome piano music, very melodic, and like me, he's inspired a lot by movie soundtracks. I freaking love movie soundtracks, but that's a conversation for another time because I can talk about
time. Yeah, we got time.
Yeah, that's where I get a lot of my orchestration ideas and things. It's from film scores. I freaking love that. And but yeah, so this quarantine, as terrible as it's been, has been a great opportunity for me to see a lot of my friends perform on Facebook, because like some of my friends from college, they live all over the world. So, there's no way I'd be able to get out to California and see, one of my friends, Kevin, play, who in college, when I heard him play, I was like blown away. He's fantastic. So to like go onto Facebook and see him just playing, and, there's probably like a couple hundred people watching, which is fantastic alone. But you just turn it on and watch it. It's, it doesn't cost you any money. It's like it's a nice live performance you get to see. It's probably the only one of the only benefits out of this whole quarantine thing is there's a lot of entertainment coming out of it. That's the one good thing that I could take away from it. There's a lot
I gotta totally agree with that.
Real, authentic entertainment, because it's not like,
I got to agree with that. It's all about being creative and doing different things and putting yourself out there. And people are more willing to listen nowadays more than ever.
Yeah.
And that's really important, and I've connected with people that I probably would have connected with at some point in time, maybe 6 months down the line or 8 months down the line, but it's happening faster because we all, are looking for things to do. And it's a great way to express ourselves the same way we did. We did this record. We've been doing our music. Yeah. We're doing this podcast, and that's the most important thing is for people just to be creative. And I'm going to sound like a hippie. Be positive. Stop and look at a tree. Peace. I'm telling you all right now, stop and look at a tree. It's all good. Look at that tree. Look at the greenness on that tree and enjoy it. It's all good. You don't have to feel like a weirdo. You don't have to be on drugs or drunk or anything. You just
appreciate it.
Yeah, you just go up to a tree and look at it. Fuck it. Bill, you were fantastic. I appreciate you, man. Guys, we have a lot more music coming your way. Please check out our newest album. I'm going to be posting that shit all over the place tomorrow on iHeart, YouTube, all those places. Wherever fine digital download audio is heard, you will see it all over the place because I'm obnoxious and aggressive. So you'll be able to see that. Bill, anything you want to say to end this thing?
No, I mean, I appreciate anybody that took the time to check it out and made it all the way through this because I'm sure this is a lengthy podcast for you.
2 hours and 20 minutes, but it's fantastic. And you know what? Sometimes people tell me, oh, your podcasts are only 20 minutes or your podcast. This is a different podcast, people. Yeah. This is a different one. We took a deep dive into music, and I hope you all enjoy it. And I appreciate all my listeners. If you made it this far, email me and I'll give you a special treat. I'll give you something. You get some kind of hookup of some sort, you know, because thank you for hanging in there because it has been about, 20.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, we're 2 hours and 21 minutes.
20 here. So
yeah. So we're gonna cut loose, but if you hit me up and you like our music, we'll hook you up. We'll send you some CDs, we'll send you some stuff, MP3s, free albums, all that kind of stuff. That's the secret surprise I'm talking about over here now. We'll give you some music, you know. If you're looking for money, don't come over here now. Bill, thank you so much, brother. You've been amazing.
All right. See you later, John.
Yep.
Later.